What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for yet another Tottenham update on the eve of the Premier League season coming to an end. We've got a bit of transfer rumours to talk about. And first up, we're going to talk about Fabrizio Romano talking about the summer plans for Tottenham Hotspur this summer. And he says Ange Postecoglou has informed the club months ago about wanting to do something important this summer. Tottenham will be busy in the transfer window. The club has accepted that there are needs to change, and Postecoglou wants to be part of that process. I mean, I know not regarding Postecoglou, but we do hear similar things coming out from Fabrizio Romano every summer.
Yeah, look, it's what we want to hear, but it's something we've heard before, and that's the problem with this club. We kind of all suffer from PTSD. Mourinho wanted change, Conte wanted change. Everyone always wants to rip everything up and put their own stamp on things and have major change. And then sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't, but everything kind of stays the same. We don't usually end up competing. Obviously, Poch did do a lot of change, and in his second summer as manager. And then it was massively beneficial to us. And you've got to remember, it's mad. This is going to be the first time since Poch that a manager has lasted a whole season. So it is, I mean, so that is like something to take going into the summer. We finally had a manager for the first time in bloody 5 years that's lasted a whole season.
Take those small wins, eh? Take those small wins.
So hopefully that little bit of extra continuity will help us going into next season. But we all know that for Tottenham to transition into a team that is winning things at the moment, you can see, especially what's happened in the last few weeks, the mentality is not quite there, the quality is still not quite there to close the gap on that top three. So there does have to be major change. There has to be major changes to the mentality of this club as well, which Postecoglou has alluded to. So I am very much, I think we're all up for a very big summer, but it's whether we get the summer we all want, because it's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to have players who are looking to shift on high wages, who Daniel Levy is going to want a decent transfer fee for. So it's about how much he's willing to compromise on those kind of fees. It's about how much clubs around Europe have to kind of spend on our players, and that's been a problem for the last few years, to be honest. Ever since COVID, really. I think before COVID, teams were a bit more willing to splash money, a bit more carelessly, I should say. But ever since, the last 4 years, it's been very, very difficult, not just for Tottenham, but for all clubs to get rid of their unwanted players. So that's going to be the big question mark.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be, look, I think I kind of am really excited for this summer. I really hope we do get the change that we're all anticipating. But like I said before, and like you've alluded to, we have been down this road before, so let's hope it actually comes to fruition this summer. In terms of specifics, let's talk about Emerson Royal. Once again, Tom Barkley said Al Nassr Saudi club says are ready to table a fresh approach for him this summer after seeing a 20 million bid offer rejected in January. AC Milan remain interested, while Bayern Munich are looking into the situation as well. We did shift Eric Dyer there. Obviously, Harry Kane's gone there. Bundesliga finished today, and they finished third in the Bundesliga, which is actually mad when you think about it. I think it's the first time since 2011. I think Emerson Royal is the answer to all their problems.
He's the one to bring back the glory days to Bayern Munich. Harry Kane must be sick of all these cast-offs following him around to Bayern Munich. Like, what the hell's going on? I thought I came here to get away from Emerson, the people like Emerson and Dyer, and play with world-class players, and I'm coming here.
To be fair, I saw an interview with Harry Kane the other day, and he was calling Eric Dyer his best mate, so I think he likes having him around.
Yeah, I'm sure he likes him as a person. I mean, I guess he's done all right as a player as well, but, you would have thought Harry Kane wanted to go to Bayern Munich so he can up the level of quality, and all of a sudden he could be turning around next season. He's got Dyer at centre-back and Emerson at right-back, who we're all just like desperate to get rid of. I would be surprised if Bayern go for him. I think they'll probably want a bit more technical ability to play in that position. When it comes to Al Nassr, I do get the feeling that if a really good offer came, he would consider it. Emerson, I don't see him as his. I think he's a good player, obviously, but I'm looking at him as his kind of character. He does seem to me like the kind of character who would go for a payday, who isn't necessarily just interested in maximizing his time at the top level. I reckon he would be interested in if they offered him a massive amount of money and going there. So I wouldn't rule that out, to be honest. And obviously AC Milan would be a great move, but whether they have the money that Tottenham want and whether any new manager coming in will want him. That remains to be seen as well. So I do think there'll be a number of clubs in for him. He's a good player, so I do think there'll be interest.
I agree, but I'm not too sure if AC Milan will be one of those clubs. Fabrizio Romano was talking the other day saying Fonseca could be actually the manager through the door instead of Gallardo. And if it is Fonseca, I don't think Emerson Royal will be the answer for them. But at the moment, with all the clubs that have been kind of named in terms of being interested in Royal, I do think Al Nassr is probably the most viable option right now. And if they do repeat that bid this summer of 20 million, surely that's something we have to accept.
Maybe we can get a few more million out of them, I reckon.
Let's talk about Timo Werner. Builder reporting that Timo is very comfortable in London and is keen to carry on at Tottenham beyond the current loan. The club have until June the 14th to activate the 17 million euro release clause for the forward this summer. It's about a month, just under a month to go until we have to give RB Leipzig our answer. I mean, we've kind of toed and froed of this ever since he's come here. I think I've come to my final decision now, thinking that we need better than him.
I think it's going to go right down to the wire, this one. We're going to have a Timo Werner deadline day, I reckon. We're going to be sitting there live streaming the team. Oh, well, what's the decision going to be? We're going to be counting down the minutes. I think for me personally, I would rather not go for it. I'd rather, go spend a bit more money and get someone who's really going to take us on to the next level than go for a Timo Werner. Obviously, us being in the Europa League doesn't really help with that. And I think the chances of us signing him probably increase the fact that we're in Europa League rather than Champions League, I would say. I think the club are seriously considering it. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion either way at the moment. The reason why I generally think it's probably going to go down to the wire is I think we're going to probably explore a lot of different options, see what the market's like. And if we're not really convinced about getting anyone too much better than him, or if we think that we're going to have to spend a lot more money to get someone who we don't think is that much better than him, then I can see us pushing the button on Timo Werner, to be honest. But I prefer us not to. I prefer us go for someone better. I do think we're capable of getting someone better. I think there are options out there. Although the left wing option in Europe, in terms of affordable options, is not the best. So there's not a lot of players we can go for on that front unless we are going to spend quite a bit of money. So I do think we can get someone better, but it's about how much we're willing to spend, and are Tottenham willing to spend the money required to get someone better? And history tells me no. History tells me we are going to get Timo Werner on a permanent, but I'd prefer we didn't.
Also, when you look at the noise coming out of the press, the targets that we've been linked with, it looks as though that Toney is probably going to be preferred on the left wing next season, and Spurs looking to prioritize the striking options. So it kind of does make sense in a way, but I would still prefer. And I do think there are other targets that you can get out there that are better than Timo. I like Timo, and I think he's fitted in well, but I just think the quality levels need to be upped if we're going to reach the targets and the heights that we want to reach next year.
I agree. And, if we're going into next season with our winger options as Werner, Son, Kulusevski, Johnson, I mean, and it's good options, but it's not options that's going to take us where we want to go. Like, if we want to be in a top 4 race, then yeah, maybe it'll be okay. But if we actually have ambitions of doing better than that, I don't think those are the options.
Yeah, totally agree. And also, like, they say the deadline is that date, the 14th of June. If we say no by the 14th of June, I think it can still rumble on after that, because they're going to be touting him out to other clubs. And if Spurs still don't find someone, let's say by July or something, and he still hasn't found another club, we can easily go back in for him.
True. But obviously whether we still get that price is another thing. You'd assume if we say no, then no one goes in for him, then maybe you could even get a lower price potentially.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about Conor Gallagher once again. HITC saying Tottenham will bid for Conor Gallagher as soon as the season ends tomorrow. His representative have accepted that he'll have to move on, as he's not received the contract. He's not received the contract terms he wants at Chelsea. Chelsea are open to selling the midfielder, and they do represent it because it is pure profit due to the financial fair play status. And they also said that Tottenham hope to make signings early in the upcoming summer transfer window. The club are prioritising a new midfielder and striker. Conor Gallagher and Santiago Jimenez are the top transfer targets in those positions.
Also, the Telegraph reported that Aston Villa have put their hat in the ring for Conor Gallagher as well, which is quite interesting. But you find it. I find it hard. I
And
mean,
your
obviously,
swap goes
for who?
Duran.
John Duran. I
Mm.
mean, must be. I mean, I'm guessing it's a lot of money plus Duran for Gallagher, I'd assume. I mean, Duran's been decent, but I don't know. I'll be surprised. I mean, I know they got Champions League, so maybe they got a bit of that boosted revenue. Maybe would help them. But still, the suggestion is they still have to sell before the big outlay for Gallagher, which Tottenham aren't in that position. So whether they're in a financial position to challenge Tottenham for that is, I guess, another thing. I think Tottenham can probably offer a better financial package than Villa, I would assume. Again, as I've said, Gallagher, I think he's a really good player. I'd really like him. It's an interesting one, though, because I don't think he's a massive... Like, if I look at what we need in midfield, I don't think him personally is like a massive priority. I think he's good. I think he's a good addition, and I think he would improve the team. I don't see him as like more necessary than other positions, I would say, right now. But when an opportunity like Gallagher comes around, it's hard to... If it is possible... kind of part of me also feels like you'd be stupid not to do it because he's such a talented player, and I think helps so many avenues. He's young, homegrown, does up the quality of the team in my opinion. Really helps with the pressing as well, which we're very focused on. So obviously I'm all for it, but we'll have to remain and see whether Gallagher really wants it and whether Chelsea will really sell to us.
Yeah, there were other reports saying Newcastle are interested as well. And out of those clubs, Tottenham, Newcastle, and Aston Villa, he does actually favour a move to Tottenham over those three clubs, probably siding with staying in London, not having to uproot his family and all those kind of things. And also what's key about Conor Gallagher is the versatility that Ange Postecoglou will really like. He can play in a various number of positions and cover a lot of injuries in those midfields if we do get them, and could be even become a preferred option as a starting role in the 8. So there are a lot of positives to the Conor Gallagher deal, but I do think that we should be prioritizing a specific number 6 role that can really take us on to the next level.
If you had to choose, I don't know if we're going into him like Gibbs White. Are we talking about Gibbs White?
No, I don't have him actually.
If you had a choice between Gibbs White and Gallagher, we could only go for one. Which one are you going for?
Yeah, I've been asking myself this question for the last couple of days, and I still don't really know. I think from an attacking perspective, if we're looking for someone to replace Giovanni Lo Celso, because with him going out the door, probably Gibbs White. But if I'm looking for someone that can be a jack of all trades and fill in a few different positions, I'll probably go for Conor Gallagher, even though I know Morgan Gibbs White can also play on the wings and versatile. But I think there could even be an option to have both of them in this summer in terms of spaces in the squad and different positions that they can occupy.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go for Gallagher just because I probably, if one of them is going to get into the starting 11, improve that starting 11, I reckon it's more likely to be Gallagher than it is to be Gibbs White, in my opinion. And I think as well, we know how tactically he definitely suits the system when it comes to the pressing and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'd start with Gallagher, but I would obviously really like Gibbs White as well. But I think I would probably decide with Gallagher.
Let's talk about striking options. Just mentioned Santiago Jimenez. What's your thoughts on Santiago? Because there's a lot of conflicting reports. I've also got a lot of PTSD about signing players from the Dutch league, particularly in the striking position. Obviously, Vincent Janssen is the most recent one that we signed there, and we all know how that turned out. But there are conflicting reports about how much people think that he can suit the Premier League, how good he's actually been for Feyenoord this season. He scored a lot of goals, but how much does he actually impact games? I mean, what's your opinion on him?
Is there a report we're talking about? We're just discussing him.
No, I just mentioned him on the previous report.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I like him for what I obviously I haven't seen too much in the Dutch league, but what I did see of some of the Champions League group stage games he played, and he does seem to be quite an effective forward. Somebody who does looks like to me in those games he was getting involved in general play, and he was quite central to how Feyenoord were playing. And he didn't just seem to me like a striker who doesn't get involved. He seemed quite physically able, battling with the centre backs and stuff like that. Obviously, I can't really comment too much about his time at Feyenoord other than the goals I've seen on YouTube. Clearly, he's a very good finisher, and clearly he's very young as well. So I think when a striker is getting that many goal contributions at that age, it's hard to ignore, and especially when he's performing well in the Champions League as well. That tells me he's capable of upping his level if he is to play on better competition. Now, whether he's the finished article is another question. Maybe probably not, I would say, at 22. And whether he's physically at his peak, whether he's still got to be stronger, whether his finishing is absolutely spot on. Does he miss too many chances? I think those are all things the scouting team have to going to have to ascertain when they take a look at him. Obviously, when you're signing a 22-year-old having his breakout season, it's if you're expecting him to fire you to a Premier League title, that's obviously going to be a big ask. He might need a couple of years till he's really at his absolute best. So anyone expecting us to sign him and then all of a sudden he's going to be, top goal scorer in the league and he's going to be a replacement for Harry Kane, I think it's a big ask, but it doesn't mean he can't be a very, very good player, even in the short term, improve our attack, and then maybe it's an investment for the future a bit.
Yeah, I just look at these players and I look at, because you can get kind of clouded by these players in the Netherlands in the Eredivisie where they get so many goal contributions. You look at Troy Parrott, right? He's got 15 goal contributions in the Eredivisie this year, in his first year playing week in, week out for a good side, or a top division side, I should say. And I look at Richarlison, and I think if Richarlison was to go to the Eredivisie, he would probably get similar amount of numbers to what Santiago Jimenez is getting now.
Maybe. First of all, I think Richarlison's a good player. I've said before, I think if we kept him, he can be a 20-goal a season striker in the Premier League if he stays fit. I still believe that. But it's about his other stuff that is a problem when he plays with his back to goal. Is Jimenez better at that kind of stuff? Is he better with his first touch? Is he better at bringing other players into play? Is he better with his hold-up play?
I'm not sure.
I think Richarlison... Well, I don't know. That's the question. The Richarlison is strong and he battles well with centre-backs, but I feel like when he's asked to, play a through ball, when he's asked to do a good layoff I know he set up that goal for Son at Anfield, but that's few and far between. I've seen him do stuff like that. When he's asked to make his decision-making sometimes in the final third can be very, very bad. Is Jimenez a lot better at that? I mean, from what I understand, he is, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But when Richarlison obviously is very good at being at poacher, he swing crosses in the box. He gets that space. His first-time finishes are very effective. That's where he's got most of his goals. So I think Richarlison's a good striker, and that is the thing that we like. It's not like as much as I want to probably improve on Richarlison, it's not going to be easy to do that because he's a very good player, in my opinion. And upgrading on a player who we know can get goals in the Premier League is a tall order, and we're going to have to be very smart if we do it. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, I guess this is a case that you're just going to have to trust the scouting team and trust that they do bring in the right player. I just hope that they don't, because there are so many good strikers out there at the moment. You look at a Gyökeres, you look at a Sesko, you look at even a Guirassy, Ivan Toney, all these strikers I think are top quality. And I do think the strikers from a pure footballing standpoint are all better than maybe a Santiago Jimenez right now. But I just hope they just go for the right option instead of just valuing price and age.
I'd hope so too. I think price and age are not the most important things. They're things to consider. But when it comes, I'm hoping they go for the best option. But we're fans. They're running the club, and they're trying to run it in a way where they're not just looking for a couple seasons. They're looking for the long term, and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, a couple more strikers we're going to talk about, and that's all we got today. Ivan Toney, Give Me Sport says that Tottenham are not prepared to meet Brentford's huge asking price for Ivan Toney, which is around £60 million. Do you think that's a bit steep for Ivan Toney? I don't think so.
Oh, he's got 1 year left, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I do think it is steep on that basis. The fact he's 28.
I think he should go for. I mean, Harry Kane, I know he's the best striker in the world, left 100 million with a year left.
Yeah, but he's the best striker in the world. Tony's nowhere near that. I think Toney is 20.
From a pure footballing standpoint, he is one of the best strikers in the Premier League, Toney. I've said it before that I don't want to go for him because of the attitude problems and everything surrounding him in that way. But from a pure footballing standpoint, I don't think it's. I mean, you get what you pay for with 60 million with him.
I think if he had 2 years left, he would be worth 60 million, maybe close to that, in my opinion.
I think
1 year left.
Years ago.
Huh?
They were talking about 100 million for him a few months ago.
Yeah, well, no one's ever paying 100 million for Ivan Toney.
Yeah, that
I
was
guarantee you that.
ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. Obviously, but look, I think this is a bargaining price. What price did they start with David Raya at the beginning of last summer? 40 million, and Arsenal got him for what, 27 or something like that. So I think it's a bit of gamesmanship from Brentford. That's obviously the price they're going to open with. Look, let's be honest. At the end of the day, if Arsenal aren't going to go in for him, which apparently they're not, if Chelsea aren't going to go in for him, which apparently they're not, then who's actually going to stump up that kind of money? Only really if Tottenham are interested, we're probably the biggest financial player left actually who's going to realistically sign him in the Premier League. So, and I don't see us going for 60 million. I don't see anyone else going for 60 million. So they're going to have to lower that price if they are going to sell it. We know that Toney will probably want to leave. We know that I don't know whether he'll force it or not. He might not. I think given how how he's been talking, if there is a team like Tottenham interested, I do see him trying to agitate for a move a bit. I also see him, if that move fails down, I do think he'll knuckle down and, knowing that he's got a year left, he's going to have to earn that big move. So I don't see him spitting his dummy out the pram if he doesn't get that move this summer. But I do think he might agitate for one if a club like Tottenham are interested. But I can't see Brentford holding strong on 60 million, in my opinion, if they're not getting that, because Brentford are the kind of club that take that money and reinvest it smartly, and they're going to want that money through the door. They're not going to want Toney to leave on a free, because that's not how their business model works. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go down to like 40 come the end, if they're not getting the price.
Yeah, it is a good point, because when you're looking at the teams linked with him, it only seems to be us and West Ham at the moment. West Ham obviously desperate.
To be fair, I see them putting money on the table, to be fair.
If West Ham are going up against Spurs, I can see them stumping up 60 million for him. I really can.
I wouldn't be surprised if they, just to make a point, we can challenge Tottenham. Obviously, Antonio's not getting any younger. They need a replacement for him. Whether he's the type of striker Lopetegui, I think he probably is the type of striker Lopetegui can use. So I can see them going hard on him. I think they'll also, though, wouldn't want to pay 60, but if it means getting one over on Tottenham, I can see more of a chance of that happening.
Imagine that front line, though, where you got Bowen, Kudus, Paquetá behind, and Toney. That's some front line for a West Ham team. Much better than ours.
I think there's a good chance Paquetá might leave. But yeah, I agree. Right now, you look at that front line, and as I've said it before, they've got some serious talent in that team and real good foundations, which is why West Ham fans want more than what Moyes is offering. So that would be an unbelievable front line if they got Toney through the door.
Last but not least, let's talk about Sergio Guirassy. Give Me Sports says that Tottenham will look to sign a new number 9 ahead of next season on a priority basis. While they have quite a few world-class forwards on their wish list, Sergio Guirassy has become a top target for the North London club. I feel like we get a new top target in the press every single day. Yesterday, it was Jimenez. Today, it's Sergio Guirassy. Scored another unbelievable goal today for Stuttgart, firing them into second in the Bundesliga, which is an unbelievable season for him personally. Unbelievable season for Stuttgart as well. They'll be playing Champions League football next year with a release clause of 15 or 16 million or whatever it is. You're looking at him for 15 million, Toney for, let's say, 40, 50 million, and Santiago Jimenez probably for around 50, 55 million. I think Guirassy does seem like the best kind of value there.
Well, I think all these options come with their own, obviously, caveats. But if you're talking about value for money, it's hard to say no for 16, 17 million, albeit this is probably his first season in his career that he's hitting serious numbers. Although last season, I was looking more into last season, he did get 11 goals and 22 starts. So it was a pretty solid season for him.
12 goals even.
Sorry?
It was 12, yeah.
I read 11 goals and 22 starts. That's what I read. But it might have been 12. So
that's a good hit rate, a goal every other game.
It's a very good hit rate. It's not bad. It's not bad. And obviously, he's clearly improved on that this season massively. And this season, he's really exploded. But again, he's 28. Even if he is going to be our starting striker, how long is that going to be for? Is he going to be our starting striker for more than a year or 2 years before we start looking for someone else? But for 17 million, also you got to factor in, if we are seeing Son as a left winger and we are selling Richarlison, maybe we need 2. And maybe for 17 million, you fill one of those spots for a very cheap fee. And and even if he does fail, you know, it's kind of only one slot if we are looking for a another striker on top of him. So you could sign him for 17, which is basically pocket change at this point, and then go and spend big on another striker potentially. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're. I mean, I'm sure we're seriously looking at him, because Daniel Levy must be looking at that price thinking, why would I spend 50, 60 on a striker and there's one for 17 right there? Obviously, again, it comes with caveats. Is this guy having just a one-off season? Is he actually the real deal? Those are the question marks, but he's having a fantastic season. And for 17 million, I mean, it's hard to say that it's not worth the risk at that price.
This is his second season at Stuttgart. First season, a goal every other game. This season, pretty much a goal a game. Assists in there as well. I'm looking at his all-round game. I think it fits what Ange wants to do. He's a good presser. He's good on the ball. What a finisher he is as well. Just go and look at the goal he scored today. The footwork that he produced and the finish as well to match it was just incredible. And he's been doing stuff like that all season. So at first, when I saw this Guirassy and I saw what he was doing this season, I wasn't too sure, and I thought maybe it's just a one-off season. But as time progresses, I really am warming to the idea of bringing him in. And if you can get him in, like you said, for 15 to 16 million, whatever it is, and bring in another striker to complement that, I think that's amazing options to have.
I think it's pretty good. Obviously, you got to take into account, like, Werner was a prolific goal scorer in the Bundesliga. And
well, how long ago?
Huh?
How long ago?
What, 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago?
Exactly. This guy's done it this season.
I know. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying it's about. I'm saying it's more about the league more than them. I'm saying the Bundesliga, how the league is. It's a very open league. Everyone likes to attack. Everyone plays a high line. There's always space in behind for everyone to play in, which is why Werner, when he played up front for Leipzig, was so effective. They could find him in behind every single time, and he scored, especially in his first spell, he scored a bucket load of goals. Obviously, I didn't translate into Premier League. Whether Guirassy is a similar vein, I don't know. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying it's something to consider in the Bundesliga, how attacking it is. But I think, again, for 17 million, if he's one of two strikers we're signing, I don't think it's it's a bit of a no-brainer at that price.
Yeah, for me, what I'd like to see us do this summer, if you were to bring in a Guirassy, top left winger, a right winger as well. If we can bring in 3 good players in those 3 positions, and you have Sonny floating between left wing and striker, I think we should be good to go forward next season.
Definitely. I'm just worried that we don't see him at the moment linked with any wingers, when a few months ago everyone was saying that winger was going to be on one of our main priorities, and now it's gone very quiet there. So I do wonder what we're going to do in that position.
Yeah, it looks like at the moment the priority is a midfielder and a striker, but you know full well that we're going to bring in more than that. So as the transfer window progresses, you're going to see a lot of players and a lot of positions maybe outside the box that are going to come in. Emerson Royal's going. There's no right backs linked to the club either, and we're definitely going to have to bring in a right back as well. So there's a lot of news still to come in the press. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, in my opinion.
We're always worried, the Spurs fans, you know that.
But anyway, see you tomorrow in the studio. Watch along for the Sheffield United away game, last game of the season. Let's hope to finish off on a flyer, but we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.